Thank you so much for tuning in to today's Dyslexia Awareness Month virtual launch party. I'm Alicia Smith, and I'm the Executive Director of Dyslexia Canada. I'm also on the Board of Directors of the International Dyslexia Association Ontario branch. Thank you so much for joining us today. October is Dyslexia Awareness Month, and I hope that in your community and across Canada, you'll be seeing buildings lighting up in red, and maybe your school will get involved and participate by wearing red one day to raise awareness for dyslexia, which is the most common reason that kids struggle with learning to read. Dyslexia is very common and it affects many people, but sometimes it's really not very well understood. And that's what we're here to do today. We're trying to help you understand a little bit more about what dyslexia is, if it's something that impacts you, and how to help your friends with dyslexia if it's something that a friend or classmate has. So we're going to start off by watching this short video to help explain dyslexia.
Just ask little dog. Just ask little dog.
What's dyslexia?
Ask little dog. Little dog.
Hello! You were wondering about dyslexia? My friend Geeko and I will tell you all about it. Dyslexia is when we have a hard time reading because our brain mixes up the letters. Huh? Oh, you want to know how and why? We'll explain it to you. For reading, we use different parts of our brain. Each one has its own job. First, this part gets a message from the eyes. They see the letters. Next, this part sees the letters and puts them into words. But if it's not working properly, the brain confuses letters that look alike, like a D and a B, or like a P and a Q. Both these parts of the brain are trying to understand what the words mean. If they don't work, the brain doesn't transform the words into sounds or images and doesn't know what they mean. So you see, it's one of those problems that causes dyslexia. It's not a disease, and it doesn't mean you're not smart. We're born with dyslexia, and we can't just make it disappear. But that doesn't mean you can't learn to read well. It just requires a bit more effort and help. There are adults whose only job it is to help people with dyslexia. They do exercises with them. They train the brain to help it recognize letters and words better, to understand them and remember them. Then it becomes easier and easier to read. And above all, a lot more enjoyable. There you go. Now you know a little bit more about being dyslexic.
Little dog.
So as you heard, dyslexia is a very common difference that people are born with. It's a difference in the brain that's often passed on in families. It's not a disease, and it doesn't mean that you're not intelligent. In fact, it's not related to intelligence at all. There are plenty of smart and successful people with dyslexia, including our guest today, Megan, who you're going to hear from soon. But I wanted to also bring in the voices of some students with dyslexia. And I'm going to play this short video that we recorded with some Canadian students talking about their experiences with dyslexia.
My name is Zora Baraka Joseph. I'm from Ontario, Canada, and I'm 17 years old.
Hi, my name is Eva. I'm 12 years old and I live in Coast New Brunswick.
My name is Henry and I am 11.
When I found out I had dyslexia, I was in grade 8 and 13 years old.
I was 8 turning 9, so I was going into 4th grade.
It was the summer before grade 4, so I was 8.
So some things that I'm really good at is art. I got my sketchbook right here, actually. So this is one of the pieces that I've been working on for the last couple of days. And I also like to collect things and make like collages, like this one for Halloween.
I'm really good at drawing, and I love industrial design. And I have this telephone that was also designed by Henry. Um, it's it was designed by Henry DeFuse.
Spelling and reading. I'm also terrible with just like directions. I barely know my left from my right. So I always have to like stick out my hands. And with my other friends who have dyslexia, I noticed that's a common thing that they face as well.
Reading, but I am good at understanding characters.
Reading for sure. Spelling. Spelling is a nightmare.
Some advice that I have for kids that are learning to read or with spelling is practice. I think practice is very important, and I think that also taking advantage of the resources and help that's around you. And I think advocating is extremely important for a student with dyslexia. Nobody else is going to know what you need. Only you can like read your mind. So I think it's very important to tell people what you need and how they can help you.
So if something's being like taught, get a little fidget, or like just like wear a bracelet or something so you have something to do with your hands. That's something that helps me focus. But it may not work for everybody. It's but with spelling and stuff, if you have the technology available to you, you use it. Like, so I know some people in my school, they're embarrassed to use it because they don't want to be seen as that kid with an iPad. I'd rather be seen as the kid with an iPad with good grades than the kid that has terrible grades and doesn't use the tools that are there for them.
I wish people knew that like it's a struggle and that a lot of people have a hard time dealing with it and it can affect you in your future. I also think just because it's a disability doesn't mean it should like stop you from what you want to accomplish. I was told because I have dyslexia, I wouldn't be able to go to college. And I got scholarships to college actually. So I'm very proud of myself for that.
They say, oh, so you just flip letters. Well, dyslexia isn't always about flipping letters. It's sometimes about when you see a page, you think of everything in the world. It's kind of what I do. Yep. That's why when I finish a novel, it's like a trophy because I worked so hard to finish it.
Like dyslexia can't just go away. It's with you forever. I've had some people ask, I've had a person ask before, are you cured from dyslexia? And it's something that you're with forever. I had to explain to them.
For a long time, I used to think there was something wrong with me. And when I figured out I had dyslexia, I started more and more not thinking that there was anything wrong with me, that it was just like, well, natural. And I think if more people know if they have dyslexia, maybe they won't think that anything is wrong with them.
Yeah, you shouldn't let it stop you. Just because it's a disability and you may have a disadvantage, it could be a superpower as well. So I think it's very important for kids not to feel like this is going to hold them back in life. It might be like your ticket to like moving forward in the future.
Sometimes I wish that people just maybe would understand it better, and just because a lot of people might judge another person, but they don't even know what it is.
Dyslexia isn't a disability, it's just a different ability.
One of my favorite dyslexic people is my father. He's given a lot of good advice, and he's gone through the same things I've gone through, and he has an amazing life now, so it brings hope.
Kids who sent in those videos to help us understand from their perspective what it's like to be dyslexic. And I love the theme that they were going with, that it doesn't mean, dyslexia doesn't mean that you can't achieve anything. And I think our special guest today, Megan Buchanan, sums that up so nicely. So Megan is dyslexic, and she's also an aerospace engineer, an adventure athlete, and a motivational speaker. and she's the first rocket scientist to climb the 7 highest summits in the world. So Megan, welcome, and thank you so much for taking the time to join us today to speak to kids all across Canada about dyslexia and about everything that you've accomplished, which is really amazing. So I'm going to turn it over to you. Thank you.
Thank you so much for having me. And I have to tell you that that whole presentation that was just given, I was just shaking my head like, yes, yes, exactly. Everything everyone is saying, it's so true. And I'm so excited to be here and share with you all my journey through dyslexia. And like one of the young people said, it doesn't go away. It's always with you, but you learn to navigate through it and bring it along with you in your journey. So my name is Megan Buchanan. I am an aerospace engineer. I'm an adventure athlete, and now I'm a speaker to talk to people like you and kids like you. And most importantly, I am so proud to be dyslexic. And it's taken me a while to get there. This is me as a little kid. And in the beginning, just like a lot of the young people just shared with us, I felt so much shame. I felt embarrassed. I felt stupid. I had so much anxiety, couldn't sleep. People didn't understand what was going on with me. And I was called by others. I was called stupid. I was called lazy. I was told I can't. I was told I won't. But luckily, I did have 2 parents that knew that I was very smart, and they wouldn't let me listen to it. And so I was diagnosed with dyslexia when I was 7 years old. I feel so lucky to be diagnosed early, because then they started helping me build my self-esteem to navigate what I had to go through. My mother sat me down, and when we found out, because the doctors told her, we're so sorry, but your daughter won't achieve much academically in school. And my mom said, that is ridiculous. She sat me down and said, sweetheart, you can be anything you want to be. You are just going to have to work harder than everybody else. And that starts today. And that's how it was in my house. I didn't know any different, right? You don't know any different. You just know that your brain works differently than other people. This is a picture of me and my sister when I was a little girl. I was obsessed with aerospace. I always wanted to be in the space program. What was interesting, though, is my brother and sister and my parents, they don't have dyslexia. My grandfather did. So even though I had a supportive family, I still felt very alone. But they were advocates for me, and they helped encourage me until I could start building that self-esteem for myself. You have to start believing in yourself and telling yourself you can. And that's where I came up with this thing called grit. Grit, right? Like grit means you're able to get through the hard times. And it doesn't matter if you have a learning difference or not. As kids, as adults, we all go through really hard things. So this applies to anyone. So grit is about being grateful for what you have and who you are for right now today. Growth is about learning to fall down and get back up, be learning to be open to keep learning and keep growing in what you're doing. Resilience is a word that means you're tough. You will keep going even when it's hard. When you want something, you've got to believe in yourself and keep taking another step forward. Integrity is a big word, but it also means being honest with yourself, being honest with others, and doing the right thing and not giving up on yourself or others. And tenacity is my favorite word. That means keeping positive and keep telling yourself you can keep going forward. So with those things, I was able to focus my energy on things that I loved. In school, it was hard, but I loved the outdoors, just like some of the other students just shared with us that they love art, they love building things. I loved the outdoors. And the pictures you see here, they're pictures of my dad when he was younger, and then now pictures of me. And they're so similar, but this was something my dad loved too, and I could do with him. In the outdoors, I was naturally gifted. I felt comfortable. I could be myself. I was confident. I wasn't afraid. I was proud. And so I knew that I was good at this. So I focused a lot of my energy on that. And then I used that confidence to keep moving forward, to go ahead and go through school to become an aerospace engineer. Don't get me wrong, school was hard. I failed a couple of classes, but I retook them. I got back up and I worked harder. And now in my career as an aerospace engineer, I work on spacecraft, I work on aircraft, and I am good at my job. In fact, dyslexia has given me an advantage. I am put on every project that's in trouble because they know I never give up and I can reach solutions. I look for creative ways to get through. And because I had dyslexia, it gave me that ability to become a better engineer. So of course that is going well, but I still have my love for the outdoors. So I set out to climb the 7 summits, and we'll break this down in a minute. The 7 summits, there's 7 continents in the world, right? So it's the highest peak on every continent. And then the Grand Slam is also exploration to the North and South Pole. I know, what? So because of my love for the outdoors and my determination that I learned from dyslexia, I set out to accomplish all these mountains. So Kilimanjaro, that's the highest peak in Africa. That's the continent of Africa and the country Tanzania at 19,300 feet. I did that one. And then I went on to Aconcagua, which is in the country of Argentina, the continent of South America. That one is almost 23,000 feet high. And if you think about it, airplanes fly from about 25 to 30,000 feet. So that's pretty high, right? So then I went and did Mount Elbrus. That is the highest peak in the continent of Europe, and it's in Russia, and that's 18,500 feet. My next mountain is Denali, and that is close to all of us. That is in Alaska. It is in the United States and the highest peak for North America. That one was really, really hard. But after I did that one, I knew that I could take on Mount Everest. So actually, before I did that, though, I did go and do in Antarctica, which is very, very cold. It is the coldest place I have ever been in. And I did, you can see at the screen there, I did a last degree ski to the South Pole. So I had to cross country ski with my sled, my tent, everything in my back, about 70 miles all the way to the South Pole, 90 degrees south latitude. And then I also climbed the highest peak in Antarctica, which is Mount Vinson at 16,000 feet. And then I went to Mount Everest. Everest is the tallest peak in the world, and it's also the tallest peak in the continent of Asia, in the country of Nepal. And that is 29,032 feet. It is beautiful. It takes you 6 to 8 weeks to climb that mountain. So you talk about grit, you talk about resilience, you talk about, the struggle day after day. Because I have gone through dyslexia, my mentally, I'm so strong that 6 to 8 weeks to climb Everest was so easy comparing to growing up with dyslexia. I was ready for it. And at the very top, though, the most important thing that I did, that's me at the top of Everest, is I brought a sign that says dyslexia gave me grit. I tear up a little bit right now. I'm so proud to represent people with learning differences. It is because of my dyslexia that I was able to climb the highest mountain in the world. And I am about to complete the Explorers Grand Slam, that's 7 summits and the North and South Pole, which only 12 women have ever done. And I attribute all of that to the strength that I built from being dyslexic. So I'm here to share with you, as you navigate your journey with a learning disability, or even if you don't have a learning disability, you are going to face challenges in your life, right? So you need to tell yourself that you have grit. You are capable of anything. You will not give up. You will get back up again because you are strong. You need to be proud of who you are. Be proud of any difference you have, because one day it will make you absolutely extraordinary and exceptional. So think about what you want to achieve and what you can achieve, and start taking steps towards that right now. And like a lot of the students told you before, speak out for help. Take advantage of the opportunities and resources that are available to you, because they are there to help you achieve the extraordinary. And with that, I thank you so much for listening to me and letting me share my journey of dyslexia with you.
Thank you so much, Megan. That was amazing. And I was tearing up there a little bit as well when I saw that picture of you on the top of Everest with that sign, "Dyslexia gave me grit." That was amazing. Thanks. And I have a question. So you're traveling around the world, and it is very exciting where you've been and where you're going. Is there a way that the classes that are watching this can follow your adventures or connect with you and hear more about your progress?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank goodness for social media is great in a lot of ways where I get to share all of my journeys. So while I'm doing a climb or a polar exploration, I get to upload and share the journey as we go and answer questions. And so if you are on Instagram, of course, talk with your parents first, but on Instagram, you can follow me at Grit, and also my website, GGRIT. I had to look at it and say it carefully because, again, spelling, it's a struggle. But you can follow me there. You can message me, and I would love to share my journey. My next one, I will do another climb the beginning of December, and then this spring I will be doing the ski to the North Pole. And so you can watch me there as well. I would love it if anyone joins in. Send me questions. I'd love to hold my sign proud and answer them.
That's amazing. Thanks so much. We'll send that information out in the follow-up email to everyone who registered today. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you.
And we did have some, I'm going to move on to the classroom prizes. So we did have some classroom prizes for people who registered for today's presentation. And I'm just going to announce those. So Miss McIntosh's kindergarten class from Welland, Ontario, will be receiving a set of whole phonics decodable books, as well as a classroom pizza party to celebrate Dyslexia Awareness Month. So congratulations to Miss McIntosh's class. We also have a set of books for Miss LaFrance's grade 6-7 class from Calgary, Alberta. So congratulations to that class as well. You'll be receiving the HIP Tween Pack, which has 12 novels, which are written in a way that makes them very approachable and accessible for students with dyslexia. You will also be receiving a classroom pizza party courtesy of Dyslexia Canada and IDA Ontario. And thank you very much to everyone for tuning into this presentation. And thank you to Kindle, Dyslexia Canada, and IDA Ontario for making this possible. Thank you and have a great afternoon.